Welcome, Professor Dimitrios Buhalis, and Professor, microphone is yours.
Thank you very much, Darius. It's wonderful to be with you in Lithuania and the Baltic countries. I really love your region, and I had some wonderful experience with you. Unfortunately, for the time being, we're not traveling, but Lithuania is one of these countries that I like to visit as soon as we're able to do so. And we've done some years ago, we did a very nice project with the Lithuanian Hospitality Association in looking to technology and how we can take things forward. I'm going to take you through a lot of slides very quickly, and I'm going to share some of the conversations and some of the thinking that we're developing around the world. And I've been in the forum since very early this morning, listening to everything that was said and how things were going. I think I may actually be more pessimistic than a lot of our colleagues. And I can see a lot of colleagues that they are desperately trying to develop tourism and go back to 2019, and we're going to get there. I think increasingly we recognize that COVID is a crisis unlike any other, and the only way I can describe it is a war. It's a war against an invisible enemy. And with wars, you have got a lot of suffering, and you've got a lot of people killing. This was Bournemouth in April 2019, and this was Bournemouth in April 2020. You can see the difference, and you can see how many organizations have suffered out of that. And of course, we've heard from so many people that 2020 was supposed to be a record year, and we were about to almost double tourism growth, and COVID stopped all that. And many organizations around the world had to stop their activity and say, see you soon, please stay at home, please stay safe. This is Bournemouth Airport with a lot of planes from British Airways parked there. And it's business as unusual because we've never seen such a crisis ever before. So we got from this kind of situation, we all enjoy life, freedom, and going around and having fun, to this kind of situation where everything was restricted, everything was very, very careful, and everything was operating as very, very unusual. People will travel, normally domestic tourism or short distances, and they look after their health and their safety and the value. The first value that we need to provide is health and safety. And these are my heroes. These are the tourism and hospitality workers who have been out in the industry. And this was the second heroes after the medical staff that have been looking after all these people that they had issues in hospitals and in communities. These were my heroes because they looked after society in a way to take things forward. But I think a lot of people don't realize that we're still on crisis, and we are dreaming for recovery and restart and reignite. And especially this summer, we had a period of about 3 months where the industry started again. But I think the more we go into things, and the statistics show that COVID still here ends very, very strong. So I will urge you to think again when you're talking about recovery and when you're talking about restart and when you're inviting people to come to your place, not to put people in danger. We need to look into resilience right now. And what we see is that we had a peak earlier on, and now we're getting other peaks coming forward. And you can see on the pandemics how those things happening. And we need to learn to live with this situation. And it's only fair to our staff, our customers, our communities. We cannot do things that will suffer communities. This is how many cases. There are more than 50 million people who have been confirmed as COVID cases, and there are more than 1.2 million people who have died. And you can see the statistics in different countries, and you can see which regions have suffered more. When you're dealing with Europe, you see that the Baltic countries have had less cases and less deaths from COVID, but you can see a lot of countries nearby that have been badly infected by COVID. And I can see some countries they've managed in a better way. They had more restricted kind of approaches, and some countries they've had less restricted approaches. And I think we need to understand these things before we're going forward. We've seen a second wave on the pandemic coming forward, and these are the statistics from Financial Times, and you should be following those. And we thought in the summertime, we thought we had cleared. We haven't cleared yet. We're going through the second wave, and the second wave is quite nasty. And I'm not an epidemiologist, so I cannot really talk with authority on all those things. But from the people that I'm discussing with, we're expecting that Christmas, people will go to families and there'll be some movement, and then we'll have a third wave until spring comes forward, and then we are more free to go out of our homes. So this is very responsible situation where we need to look into what's happening. And also we need to look into what is the burden of the disease because of other things as well. So there'll be other conditions that are coming forward. There'll be mental health issues and depression. There'll be a huge economic injury that's coming forward, and a global recession that's coming forward because of COVID. And of course, all of these are not very good news, but the good news is that the vaccines are progressing incredibly fast, because a lot of people have been working together to make sure that we get a vaccine as soon as possible. But I'd like you to stop for a minute. And before you start looking to how can we go to 2019, stop and count our blessings and think positive and think how can we go forward with the situation that we've got at hand. We shouldn't really be reluctant to understand the situation, how serious it is, and always trying to look into the statistics of the past, because the past is gone. What we should do is we should look for humanity, solidarity, leadership, and resilience. This slide I did about 5 or 6 months ago when we had the first kind of COVID wave. And I think this is probably one of the most important slides that you see today. We need to look out humanity, solidarity, resilience, and leadership. We need to stay safe, and we need to make people stay safe, even if that means that for a period of time, we restrict travel, we reduce travel. And I understand the economics of it. And I've been a tourism professional for 35 years. Many of you have seen me in Lithuania, and we've always talked about how can we create value for our guests and how we can take things forward. But I think at this stage, you really need to be very, very careful on what's happening. Otherwise, we'll have a lot of dead people. And that as a humanity, as a society, we cannot really afford. So my suggestion is trying everything to stay safe, and also give blood, because save a life and give blood, because this is really, really critical. In this period of time, we don't need political speech. We don't need growth. We don't need a lot of those things. We need responsibility, and we need leadership. And from the beginning, I talked to Captain Sully as a main leader who managed to understand what was happening and save so many people on the Hatso River by getting the plane down on the river. So he had 210 seconds to land, in fact, to water this plane with 155 people down the Hatso River and save all these lives. And I think that is the level of responsibility that we require right now from the tourism industry globally. And then, consequently, I found this story, the Delta 15 flight, which is those people that landed in Gander on the island of Newfoundland in Canada after September 11, and what happened when the local people of Gander look after them, and how they survived the week, and how they became friends with the environment in Canada, and how effectively they adopted this small place in Newfoundland in Canada. And then I was surprised that I found that this is a West End theater, because it's got so many positive messages. And I urge you all to have a look on the online resources about the Come From Away, and to learn from those lessons that we learn from this kind of thing. And normally I talk about these things, and a lot of my friends, they tell me, look, but my survival depends on tourism. And of course, all our survival depends on tourism. There's never been a situation before where governments and economics and investors have understood how important tourism is for all our activities. But after the storm, there is a rainbow. So we are going to go into a new reality, and we're going to take care of that. But in the meanwhile, I like to urge you to look after your communities. It's what tourism and hospitality can do for our communities rather than communities can do for tourism and hospitality. And we need solidarity, commitment, and support from governments and from everybody, but we also need to get together. I started very early with COVID, and this on my blog, I started calling for brace, 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 to inform the tourism industry globally and in Greece in particular, because a lot of my Greek friends were running hotels and tourist businesses on how to react with these things. And I think the most important lesson we learn is how we are going from me and my personal interest to how we go to we and how globally we learn how to work with each other. A lot of people from the tourism industry came forward with a lot of acts of solidarity and kindness. They provided accommodation, they provided food, they cooked for the people that they needed, they cooked for the NHS, the health systems around the world. And this is one of my favorite restaurants in Greece, in Rhodes. It's called Tomarouli, the lettuce. And I've never been to this restaurant. I don't know these guys, but what they've done is they realized how many people were struggling, and they start cooking about 250 portions of food every day and leave it outside their restaurant, so people who needed that can take some food with integrity and survive these difficult times. This is the level of solidarity I'm expecting from the tourism industry right now, and I think this is the only thing that we should be talking about during the crisis, and when there are so many people who are dying every day. And what happened is that there's a community that came forward and brought all these kind of ingredients so they could cook the ingredients and they can provide to society. So it's about how can we get solidarity and how we can engage everything. And I can hear you saying, Professor, come on, tell us how we can go back to business and how we can take tourism forward. And I'd love to do that. And I'll share some of my thoughts. We will not return to the past. We will depart to a new future, and the new future will be different. And everything that we're doing in the past may be relevant, actually. We really need to question what we're doing in the past and how we can add value. We're very blessed. We've got excellent assets. We've got fantastic products. We've got all the marketing and the branding we need to do in order to co-create experience and engage local residents in differentiating the product and create some authentic kind of experiences. And I said this is a war, but normally wars destroy infrastructures, destroy facilities, they kill people. Coronavirus is killing people, but it's not touching our infrastructure. So we need to develop our resilience, and we need to have a strategic response. So in the strategic response, during the crisis, we need to bring the humanitarian aid and to support the solidarity. And also, we need to look after our people, our employees, and also we need to work to look after our liquidity and our stock and our businesses. And we need to to understand how we can support all our relationships through communication and how we can support partners, suppliers, employees, distributors, consumers, everybody in this game. We need human strategies to make sure that our employees are provided for. We need money strategies for liquidity and debt. We need operation process to make sure that we've got the protocols to ensure the safety and the process are changed in a way that they can do that. We need to look into our product and perhaps re-engineer some of our processes and procedures. We need to look at our distribution mix and see how we can change our distribution mix to manage a lot of those things. We need a strategic response to look into the leadership, and then I'm going to talk in a minute about smart and real-time kind of initiatives that can take things forward. And we need destinations to be smart, having a very agile ecosystem that adopts in a minute. And I was listening early on to Susanna and to Marie and the colleagues on the previous panel that they were talking about the plan A, plan B, plan C. And so what we are describing really is context-based service and real-time service. And I think you're absolutely right. This is the kind of way of taking things forward. Obviously, I can spend an awful lot of time on this, but I don't have the time. I think a lot of organizations are coming out and they're talking about COVID safe. Nobody is safe from COVID, and we need to be very, very clear with that. But you can be COVID ready by understanding the protocols and the process, the ecosystems, and adapt agility in order to be able to deal with the situation and to deal with the threats that we're facing. Now, in Europe, we've got many countries and we've got different ways of approaching COVID. And we've seen some of the countries have been very restrictive and they've looked after their people in a particular way, while other countries have adopted very different and perhaps dangerous strategies. When I talk with my colleagues in China, in Asia, in Hong Kong, in Taiwan, and Singapore, and Korea, quite a lot of these countries have handled the situation in a very different way. And partly this is because Asian cultures operate in a different way. But because they were restricted earlier, now their markets are increasing. So in China, we saw the celebrations last month. They got back to 80% of the normal kind of activity. Of course, with masks and with protective equipment and everything like that. But what that shows is that how people would like to travel and how engaged they are in doing these things. We need to understand real time the context, the location, the clientele, the space, the architecture, the service, the personnel, and all our process and our business models in order to blend the new reality and in order to create the new things. We're reigniting tourism slowly, and we had, as I said, we had 3 months that were quite good, and we need to be honest, because of domestic tourism or neighboring tourism. A lot of countries had a fantastic, and a lot of regions had a fantastic summer. Some other countries suffered a lot. So Spain suffered a lot, Greece suffered a lot, wherever you needed to be on a plane, suffered more than other places. Long haul travel, Africa, Asia has suffered a lot. The Caribbean regions have suffered a lot. But a lot of domestic destinations, like Bournemouth, for example, Bournemouth had fantastic 3 months because a lot of people came here. So we really need to be clever on how we are dealing with the reignite of tourism, and how we refocus and redesign products and services, and eventually how we re-engineer the whole industry. And we need to understand the markets, whether it's domestic markets, international market, neighboring market, and also we need to understand who is our customers, business or leisure. And business will take probably a little longer to do. I'm going to take you through a few smart and agile solutions that they are primarily based on technology, and show you some of the things that we see globally that they've been used to actually reopen tourism. So mobile and smart systems are on the front, and of course smartness is about interconnectivity and interoperability of integrated technologies to re-engineer process and data. And what smartness is doing is making sure that value is co-created throughout the ecosystem. Now, smartness in the normal situation, when I talk about smartness on those articles, it's about value co-creation, and it's kind of benefits, economic benefits and enjoyment and happiness. But where we are right now, we are looking to smartness focusing on primarily safety security. The first value that we need to bring forward is safety security. And we need to engage with all the partners and bring the networks and everything that we've got in order to have got up-to-date information and support customers. Now, what is happening is that when people are traveling, they're going by definition to a hostile environment. They go away from their normal zone of habitat where they live, and they go to different places where they may not know the health system, they may not speak the local language, and all the rest of it. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide all this information, reliable information, to engage those people and to support them throughout their journey. This has become very challenging because, first of all, the information is changing all the time. There are a lot of economic interest in this business, and a lot of people have been quite aggressive, if you like, towards governments And some have been irresponsible in what they're doing, and they've been pushing their economic benefits against some of the other benefits. I think technologies enable us to bring innovations, and we need to come in the marketplace where on the one side you have got the customers, on the other side you've got suppliers, and we use the technologies in the middle to actually engage in this co-creation of value. But I think the thing that we've got out of COVID is that we need the emphasis to be on health, safety, and security. And then a lot of other things are going to come forward. And what's going to happen is eventually, okay, once we've got the vaccine, we're going to be going to a new situation. But until then, it's really critical that we provide that kind of information. So it's what we call context-based services, where you are looking to context and how context is changing. Then you bring social media and you bring mobile kind of smart devices, wearables, and everything else to inform people what they can do and where they can go and what is safe to do. So if people are traveling on domestic or neighboring countries by car, you may actually create systems that they say, please do not go to this place. There are already far too many people there. It's not safe for you to go there. And these are the alternatives that we do. We had some of these applications in Bournemouth this summer. I'm not sure how well it worked, but at least that's the kind of understanding. It's real-time information that provides people an understanding of what's happening. Now, smartness is not about technology, and we've looked into this paper, all the different factors that are coming into that. Smartness is about also people and leadership, and I think leadership is critical in creating smart solutions. And we need to bring economic, social, and technological actors together to co-create that system, the ecosystem that's creating smart solutions, and then out of that to create smart innovations. You can see some of those ideas on those kind of papers. And the other thing that we need to understand is the tourism typology, because we see tourists operating in many different ways. And this research that we're doing for people who are when they are traveling, how do they contact people? Do they do face-to-face social contact or do they do online contact? And we need to recognize that there are different types kind of customers out there, and we've categorized in 6 categories. And we need to understand how to deal with each of these types, and especially at the COVID period. So some travelers will have their mobiles and their smart phones, and they'll be consulting a lot of these kind of services. Some other people will kind of switch everything off, and they go analog. And somehow we need to make sure that everybody gets the same information and everybody is served by the services that we're providing, and at the same time everybody is remaining safe and responsible, because it's really critical of the COVID era that everybody, including consumers, play their role in the tourism industry. The worst thing that can happen is that you've got consumers that do not collaborate with authorities, and they are doing irresponsible things. And we've seen this year. We've seen a lot of irresponsible action from consumers that can endanger themselves, others, other travelers, and local communities and employees in major danger. I think gradually you need to look into how you can look after tourism organizations by adopting real-time services. And real-time services is about nowness. And nowness is about location-based information, mentions, hashtags, sentiment analysis, trending topics, keyword tracking, and different competitors. We need to understand what is happening in every place in order to be able to see what we can do. And there is a comprehensive kind of framework that we have developed where we look into how nowness operates by looking to real-time information, experience enhancement, customer centricity, and which all of that is data-driven and is based on co-creation. I think gradually we're going to ambient intelligence systems, where the ambient intelligence systems are using artificial intelligence and machine learning to connect everything and everybody together, and those will be used. And I know that in the Baltic countries in particular, you're so much advanced in technological kind of developments that a lot of those things are happening already. So it's really about how can we learn from how people are moving within the space, how we can support real-time response to the local situation and context, and how we can take interactions between all the different actors in these platforms. And those are the different kind of tools that they are bringing us together, from Internet of Things and the Internet of Everything, 5G, and now we're start looking at 6G, RFID, mobile devices, apps, cryptocurrency, sensors and beacons, pervasive computing, gamification, and artificial intelligence. So I'll conclude with a few smart tourism and COVID solutions that we've seen around the world. This is Hotel Icon in Hong Kong, and they installed very early thermal scanner at the entrance so they could see what was happening. And then they had a range of different protocols that they were using in order to minimize the risk of spreading and make sure that everybody was safe. We see a lot of these cameras where people are taking their temperature when they're coming to airports, on shopping malls, and we're trying to identify people that they are in danger. The problem with COVID is that a lot of people are asymptomatic, so they may not know that they carry COVID, and that is really, really complicated. We need to understand each location and how each location operates and what are the flows, and make sure that we redesign flows in a way that they can minimize contact, can bring touchless technologies, and can engage different things. A lot of touchless technologies came forward this year, and a lot of smart applications were coming forward, so you can control a whole range of different things by the safety of your own device. And that was one of the things that we've seen around the world. We've also seen machines that they are disinfecting rooms or aircraft or any kind of other organization, other facilities. And we've also seen a lot of track and trace applications, where people are tracked where they're going, and then who are they in contact with, for how long, and then we understand where they are versus where danger is, and we try to manage that kind of thing. And in China, you had several applications where you give a green passport every day to people to travel. But what was happening in China is that you had to declare twice a day where you've been, and also your mobile phone was kind of tracked. So a lot of this information was coming forward before you could be given the green light to be able to go around. And a lot of things that they're happening and they're coming forward is robots and robotics. And robotics are very useful in dangerous situations, but increasingly they're coming into health service. And this was happening in China, where they had robotics that they could clean and disinfect areas and help some of the patients and support some of the employees. And you'll see a lot of these things coming forward, because if something COVID has left behind is this level of competence and digitization that's coming into society, because a lot of us had to learn how to deal with these things. So this is the Da Vinci robot that's increasingly used for operations, for example, and some of these things. Now, in tourism, of course, we don't want robots to take our jobs and to smile to our guests and things like that. But already you find several applications out there, and some of them, this is the Hana Hotel in Japan, and some of them are kind of experimental, kind of attractions for the time being. But increasingly, we'll see some of those applications taking some of the functions that they do not really need a human element. They do not necessarily need the skill of human, and those functions are those that they do not necessarily need empathy, and you'll probably be seeing more of those things, and we need to redesign the tourism industry in a way that we will probably go towards a blended kind of situation, where you'll have, on the one side, you'll have humans serving and helping with different things, and then you'll find a lot of the mechanics, a lot of the mechanistic kind of things done by robots and done by machines. And some of those things will actually be intensified during the COVID period. And we're going towards a new kind of era where you have a lot of autonomous kind of vehicles, a lot of autonomous devices that are coming forward, have self-driving, and a lot of those things will be coming closer to us because of technological developments and digitization that we've seen in the last few months. Because when you start operating digitally, you are progressing towards smart kind of adoption much faster. And one of these things will be gamification. That's a new book that's coming out very soon, where we're going to engage with different people in gaming. Now, when I talk about these things, a lot of people think that this is something that's going to happen in the future. This is last year. At this time, I was in China. I was in Hangzhou at the New Century Grand Hotel. And this robot was following me around, developing, delivering different kind of services. And I think this is how we're going to see a lot of these services coming forward. So, my friends, I think there is a place where we need to kind of engage in the future. And I think we need to plan for the worst and hope for the best. And COVID is something that we cannot take lightly. And we need to engage into co-creation of value, having safety as the first thing. And I think it's critical that we remember solidarity, and it's critical that we remember humanity, and we are primarily addressing those needs. So some of the publications that this presentation is based on, and this is where you can get hold of me and stay in touch with me. Thank you very much. Thank you.